Welcome everyone, and I invite you to exclusive interview that I have the privilege to have today with me, one of the co-authors of lately published book Courage, Kelly Watts, a wonderful woman, amazing mother of Oscar, have shared in the book incredible story how she moved from the rabbit hole to her pathway that is just full of dreams that she's fulfilling today. Kelly, welcome. And again, thank you very much for being today with me.
Thank you, and thank you for hosting these interviews as well.
We are both co-authors in the book Courage. How was your experience to join that collaboration? And during the process, how did you feel? And how do you feel today? It's like 3 stages within
Yeah,
one process.
so it was like a bit daunting, excuse me, because obviously although we run these businesses, we're like in real life, we're still like mum, a partner. So it's still sort of not it doesn't feel real, if you know what I mean, because we're just like I'm just me. So like when the book was launched, it got to number 1 and I hadn't even taken Oscar to the school bus stop yet. Do you know what I mean? So like I had half wet hair. I hadn't even had a chance to look at it to go and buy a copy myself yet. And yet, they're all posting up, I was already reached number 1. I'm like, oh, I've only just half staggered out of bed. I haven't even got time to process it yet because I'm still mum, and then it was surreal then walking back from the bus stop thinking, oh, I'm a published author when, here I am. I'm just a normal mum, basically. And even now today, it still feels quite surreal. It's only when people say to me, oh, how, you booked it well and stuff like that. It's there, but you don't, it's different. Like you're not like J.K. Rowling or all these big authors, which, we don't expect to be. But for me, I just hope it's made a difference to, or it's given someone hope in their life.
It's there. It's there and it's done. And I think it's a beautiful footprint of our being, of our presence. And what was your drive actually to join that collaboration, to share your story? Did you know from the beginning what will you write about?
So from the beginning, although I knew it was about mental health, and I thought at the beginning it was possibly to do with business, so I didn't have that much. And then it was only when it was based on our stories, and again, it seems like a long time ago now because when Oscar was born, it was a few months after that I started becoming healing a lot more. So although I still have bits of it now, because I think we all have it. It was more, it was scary as well going into that place because I haven't been in that place since I've been in that place.
Mm.
And then when you write it, then there's a whole other load of memories that come to surface, which is if you get going and then you struggle and then you can't stop. But then it gets to that point then afterwards. I've been doing a lot of reflecting on it because it's brought, not in a negative way, but it's brought a lot up. And to me, it's shown that there's some bits which I haven't healed from. And my process going forward is I'm looking into holistic therapy. I'm focusing on me to start healing. I've got a lot of trauma in my body and I want to release it because I want to be the best me, the best mum. And I think my body's been through enough and I want to release it as well.
How old is Oscar now?
So he's 9, he'll be 10 in 2 weeks' time.
Oh, wow. In
So yes,
November. Wonderful. I'm born in
yes,
November as well.
yes, and me. I've just turned 40, so
Oh, that's amazing. So we are
yeah.
a team of Scorpions.
Well, he's Sagittarius, so I'm Scorpio. So I'm the
Okay.
first of the month and he's the 30th. So we're the beginning and the end of the
Okay.
month. So, but
Okay.
we're,
But it's wonderful. November is a wonderful month. How it
yes.
is to be a mom? How do you experience to be a mom?
It's the best thing in the world, but also the hardest thing in the world. And it it's a constant learning curve for you and your child. Every day is new challenges emotionally. And even if there was a manual, it would never be right because we're all different. Our children are different. And like I said, it's the best thing in the world, but it's also the hardest thing in the world. And like I love Oscar to bits. He's my life, he's my drive, he's my why, he's my everything. But I would really struggle if I had more than one child. Like I know people choose to do that, but I chose not to have more because as soon as he was born, I just felt complete. And I can give him everything. Is it not material? I can give him everything emotionally. So he's very emotional as well. So I can give him all that time or all that nurture. I can give him everything. Which I think if you have more, I'm not saying people can't do it, but I would struggle to, I would feel very overwhelmed if I was trying to split myself in half and try to give bits of me. I can fully give him everything.
I think being a mom, it's sometimes quite difficult because we are encouraged to speak loudly about the beauty side of the motherhood, but there is a huge part that we really go through struggles. And despite we are encouraged to speak loud about this, once we speak, once we share about our weak points, we are hardly finding understanding. And you mentioned in your book, in your chapter, that you have been a single mom for quite a big piece of time of being a mom. Did you have these kind of moments of weakness that you didn't like yourself in the moment? Where have you been?
So if I just elaborate a bit more, I've been single mum since Oscar was born, basically. So throughout most of the pregnancy, so I've done it all. So I moved in with my partner when Oscar was 8. So for 8 years, so the only weaknesses, like I wouldn't change any of that for the world. It was the best time of my life, and I'm glad I didn't have to share him with anyone. It was just me and him. So the only weaknesses was obviously when they're a lot younger and you're working and you're doing everything, is like that tiredness, that overwhelm. And I was definitely sometimes not as patient as I could have been, or got overwhelmed easier because it's just that constant, even when they're asleep. Even now, he's nearly 10, we're always on mum duty. So like I can't relax at night until he goes to bed and he's asleep, if you know what I mean. And the only weakness for me is like I said, it's that overwhelm where, sometimes you'll be able to pass over. But for me, I've definitely, when he was younger, I was a lot more patient. But now I'm a bit more less patient, if you know what I mean. So I can sometimes jump the gun a lot quicker than perhaps I would have before, if there'd been someone there to like, right, I'm getting wound up, I'm stepping down, you take over before I lose it, basically. So I'm not afraid of saying that. I've shouted at him in the past because I'm human. And if anyone has turned on ever said they've never lost it, then, I'd love to know what you did to not be able to actually lose it, if you know what I mean. But it's definitely been a learning curve. But it's a weakness more on where I need to, and as he's getting older and I'm getting sort of more patient again because he's getting older and is slightly more dependent. It's it's a weakness at the time, but it's a learning curve for me to know, right, how can that's my emotions, not him. So what can I do to help me control that better? Because I don't want him following that lead. You get annoyed and you fly off the handle as such.
Do you experience your motherhood as the process of growing, learning? And if so, when it started?
That's a hard one because when I had him, I was 30, so I'd gone through a lot of lived in experiences. I had nieces, nephews, friends with a lot of kids. So I had a lot of maturity behind me, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So it's more really when I think they slightly get older and they start school, and now he's getting to that age, preteen and that. I think is now trying to kick in because they're at that age then where they know what they're doing. So it's more, I think, as they get older, there's more pressure. We're never going to be the perfect parents, however much we try, but it is that pressure of trying to make sure they're on the right route so they make the right choices. The hard bit is obviously discipline because you know that they need boundaries. So like in the summer holidays, for example, I'd gone in the morning and he'd literally been on his PlayStation all night. Do you know what I mean? Because he had his glasses on, he had the remote in bed with him, the plugs were all on, and I'd turn them off every night. So as a result, the PlayStation was removed. Um, but where this was only going to be like a week ban, I didn't give it to him for the whole holidays because he didn't ask for it. We are out every day, bike, swimming, we're both very sporty. So he didn't ask for it. He only had it in like September after the week or so after he went back to school, basically. So it's more as they get older, I find it's challenging because, they're getting slightly older, interested in different topics, and you're like, oh, I'm not quite old enough to be going down that route of me allowing you to explore that further at the moment. And then it's the other thing of like, bedtimes, friends may have later bedtimes, and then you want to be the fun mum, but you also know, I know you can't cope with those late nights. You
Yeah.
need it. You need that sleep. So it's balancing boundaries, but also trying to be fair, but also trying, you're not trying to keep up with the Joneses as well with their friends.
That's that's so so true. Recently, I have seen a very interesting post. Um, as a mom, I was prepared for mother, but I wasn't prepared. Bro, chill
Yeah, yeah,
stage. And
yeah,
it was so interesting because I am right now at that stage where
yeah,
I am, just saying, like you said, establishing some boundaries and this kind of expectations because it's natural. And in response, I am just receiving, bro, chill.
yeah,
Okay, how can I respond to it in the very first moment? I'm not your bro,
yeah.
man. I'm your mother. And also, this kind of stage requires from us as moms the learnings that no one is writing about that. You mentioned about there is no chance to be manual written for the role of motherhood because every single house, every single mom, and the dynamics we are creating, the background that we are carrying is different, right?
Yeah.
Like in your chapter, you are writing about the stage of feeling naive. What made you think that you felt like that? You felt naive.
Because up until that point, apart from my grandfather, my first main loss bereavement was my grandfather died when I was 24. So obviously, I was fortunate to have 24 years with him. But apart from that, I hadn't gone through. I had just sorry, it's my dog coughing. I just sort of not sailed through life, but I hadn't come across any hardships as such.
Mm-hmm.
So to go through something like that all of a sudden, I felt naive, as in you're going through life like through almost like on a silver cloud, and it's things like this happen in life. And some people are lucky that they don't hit any bumps in the road, but I feel you need to hit bumps to become to be able to become resilient. So when things come up, so I, yeah, it helps to build resilience and it helps to form us. Like I definitely wouldn't be where I am today if I hadn't have gone through it all. I'd probably still be like a bit of a lapdog, not in a negative way, but I was always everyone is first before me and people took advantage.
Mhm.
Whereas now it's the other way around. I've got boundaries, and that's really important.
Recently, I was just discussing with a colleague of mine, and she was just for very short term experiencing kind of withdrawal. And it was beautiful what she said. You know, these kind of situations when you give a smile and then you pay the price for that smile, and that price is smashing you completely. And I think this is very similar that you just said. You put some people beyond, in front of yourself, keeping yourself in the last space. And did you experience these kind of situations when you try to stand up for yourself, you got rejected?
I think I was always just more of a people pleaser. I never felt myself as worthy, if you know what I mean. And when you go through your life of always saying yes or thinking, if like for example, when we were teenager, it'd be like, oh, let's go to cinema, what do you want to see? I'd always be like, oh, I'm not bothered. So I think you're always sort of never then included in choices because people think, oh, you're laid back and you'll just go with the flow. So I guess to a point then where you need to sort of start not speaking up, but for example, with like I used to help a lot with babysitting with my friends and family and stuff, and then it got to the point like I was trying to do with Oscar as well, and I'm a single parent. I should be the one, people coming to me, can I help you? So in the end, they set up boundaries. So I used to work part-time Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So Sunday, Monday, Tuesday nights, I wouldn't do anything because I'd work the next day and I would rest because I needed that because I was on my own. I'd work the next day. Why was I getting myself tired for other people for? And then when I started saying no, or sometimes it wouldn't even be no, I'd make up excuses saying I've got something planned with a friend, and then people just stopped asking. And then it comes around, I would help out if it was needed, but then it's for people just stopped asking then. So, I think people started to learn that no, you've got to go and find another way. I'm not there to bail you out all the time.
Do you think building this kind of boundaries, psychological boundaries, physical boundaries, are easy to make? How people are reacting from your experience? How did you go through that process?
Well, like I said, for me, I wouldn't say no. I would say, sorry, I'm meeting like with a friend or I've got something on, or I would use excuses. And then I think then people then eventually sort of learned that no, I'm not available. Like I said, I would help out if it was needed or for like my niece or nephew or whatever. But apart from that, it got easier because people stop asking basically, and then right, these boundaries are working. It's easier to start saying no when you don't want to do something.
When you are going, because your story, your experience is really inspiring. Because when I was reading your chapter, and you even mentioned that when you were writing it, it was like a journey to your past. Suddenly, certain situations and challenges from the past again appeared in front of you. And it's even very visible. The first half, it's about not positive experience, heavy experiences, and then
Hmm.
the beauty.
Yeah,
Rabbit hole to
yeah,
dreams.
yeah.
What was this rabbit hole?
So the rabbit hole is like when you have depression and that basically you spiral down, and it's like a rabbit hole. You just keep digging and digging and digging basically, and it's all black and you're just underground basically, and you want to be there physically and you're there mentally, but you want to be physically as well. You want to be underground in a hole, hidden. um like on the part where I talk about when I worked in the council and I used to try and walk in. head down so no one would talk to me. It was sort of like it's basically like you're literally underground mentally and you want to be there physically. You don't want to be seen. But life is like that. It's like you've got that cloud around your head constantly and you feel that heaviness. So it's physically and mentally like that, basically.
Was it this moment when you have uh, realized that actually your mind is in gray cloud? Because you are also referring to it, that you overcame the gray cloud. And does it mean mindfully, with mindset, you have been stuck in this kind of gray cloud?
So the great cloud for me represented the depression. So it felt like so like in the book when I say, you've got cartoons and someone's walking around with that cloud above their head, the rain everywhere they go, they got this cloud above them, that heaviness. That's just what it feels like when you've got it. You just feel like you've got that dark black cloud above your head, and everywhere you go, it's there no matter what you do, basically. And that's how it feels. And that's the only way to describe it to others who haven't been through it. And also when I went through as well, when the doctors referred me to the library for a book, and that was really insightful as well because when you were reading it, it made you realize it was sort of like a light bulb moment. What I'm experiencing, these emotions are normal, they're part of the illness because we can forget it's an illness. We say mental health, but it's an illness and we forget we're ill. So it was like, you've got a broken leg, you've got pain, you've got your crutches, you've got your cast. You don't have any of that. But so it was nice like reading all those symptoms and it was like a tick box checking them all off. And it was nice to know it made you feel normal, even though you didn't feel normal because it was there in front of you. It's an illness and all the symptoms and everything, or everything you feel through and go through, that's part of the illness. So it made you feel more normal as much as you could, if you know what I mean.
When you were going through the time of depression,
Hmm.
did you know that it's a depression?
Not straight away, and you only with depression, you don't know until you're in it. So it's hard then to come out because it's not something you can just click or take a tablet for and you get better. So like I went through it on several times. So now, or not now, but afterwards when I felt better, when I felt like, oh, I'm drifting, when you've been through it, you know the signs and you're very much aware, like, oh, I don't fancy going out, I don't fancy doing this, or I don't want to get up in the mornings. Your mind starts thinking, right, is this right? What's going on? And then I used to think, right, what's going on in my life? What aren't I happy about? Is that's getting me down, right? That's going. That I'm not getting down that route again, especially as I was a mum then as well. So when you haven't been there before, you don't know you've got it until you're in it, which is the hardest thing about it because, like I said, you can't, and that's like the rabbit hole, you can't just come back up and be okay. It's a healing process. And, for me, it took several years, so it takes a long time to heal. But yeah, so like I said, you can't just heal from it. But when you've been through it, you know signs and you can sort of help look at ways in your life to stop you getting and going that down into it again.
Was it easy for you to acknowledge I have depression?
Um, it's hard because you feel quite numb in life, so it's sort of not a relief because because it's not nice to have. So I don't know, it's a hard one to answer because it's not like, like say you've just been given a diagnosis of autism or ADHD, it's a bit of a relief. but it's not because you don't really feel anything. So it's just a long process, and you just wish you could wake up every day and it be gone, or you feel good, if you know what I mean.
You mentioned that especially when you didn't go through these kind of experience, it takes a bit longer to understand the symptoms, the signs, to read the signs that, oh, I think I'm touching a depression level. Yet you mentioned that you started to realize, you started to question yourself. So it's wonderful to see the inner strength somehow was fighting what was happening in our external life. What were your survival mechanisms?
It's hard. I don't know whether like I just had some strength in me to like I at the end of the day, like I worked full time. I had like my house had my dogs, so they were a factor. Like obviously I had to get up in the morning, let them out, feed them. So they were like a big factor to help like in my recovery. Um, but I don't think there was survival, as there's obviously something there. I obviously had strength even though I didn't know it. So I'd still get up and go to work every day, but that was because of like my ethic as a person. So I did have to have time off work and stuff as well. But I can't really think of any like strengths, if you know what I mean. I obviously just had something there to get me going. Like if I didn't work or whatever, it could have been a different story because I didn't have that thing to make me get out of bed each day to go in to work, if you know what I mean. Like through some parts of it, I should really have not been in at all. I should have really been off on the sick when I was like at the lowest. So if that happened now, I have no second thoughts about just signing myself off and get myself better. But at the time, you don't know, and because obviously this is going on 10, well, a bit longer than that, because this is before I had Oscars. So this is like 11, 12 years ago now. It's different to how it is today as well, talking about mental health. So I did work in social services, so they were supportive as well. But if it was today, it'd probably be like you need to go off. Although they were very supportive, I shouldn't really have been there. And like some colleagues did say that to me as well. So, but again, because you get up, you go in, I didn't have any sick you sort of you don't want to let the team down as such, do you? So I think having that routine and knowing I had to go up and get in, probably having something to do probably kept me going without realizing it.
It's interesting what you have just mentioned. If it would be today, most probably we would be let go off
Yeah,
from the work. And it's incredible how, despite we would expect the times from the perspective of workplace well-being, the psychological safety, we have it today less than even 10 years ago, where these themes of wellness, well-being of employees were not promoted as it is today. And I think I will not say too little if I say you have been incredibly lucky that you had support from the family, you had people around that were
yeah,
with you in that process. And at the same, as you said, you got great support from the people from your workplace. Many people don't having even in 10% that luxury.
yeah,
When, first of all, today people are more blind. We are ignoring, we don't see. And if something is going wrong in someone's life, we are faster in judgment rather than attention or just, yeah, the care, this simple sign of care of other person. And I wonder if exactly for these kind of people who are not having anyone to whom they come, or even during the depression, they are even told, don't exaggerate. How would you, what would you advise to such people?
Well, when I was going through it, I didn't actually talk much to my family because I spoke more to my work colleagues. Because again, with your family, you don't want to worry them as well. So my family didn't really know as I was as bad as I was because it's hard basically. So my work colleagues probably knew the most because obviously when you work full time, you're there 9 till 5. They're your family, aren't they, as such? So obviously my family didn't really know as bad as I was, if you know what I mean, compared to my friends and my work colleagues. But I would say to talk to people, connect to people who have been through it as well, and just not to be hard on yourself. So give yourself so for me it would be like I would struggle with motivation. So that's one big part of it. And you when you want to do something, you need to do it there and then, otherwise the motivation goes. So just not to be hard on yourself if that moment goes, just you got through that day. That's what you need to think about, the good things you got through that day. So it's mainly, sorry, you got a bad cough. It's mainly just not to be hard on yourself, basically.
I love it, how the way you said that the rabbit hole that you are rolling down. And I wonder when was end of it, when you started to go up.
Um, it, it's hard to, like I said, because it was two different experiences. So I've got two old dogs and they're keeping me on my toes and they just fell over and one's coughing. Um, I just think like we go through it. Like I was on antidepressants,
Mm.
although they sort of they help you, but they don't. Um, because obviously it's all they releasing stuff inside you, but obviously it's not real, is it, as such? So I couldn't live on them, but I couldn't be without them as well because I tried to come off several times, and that's just really difficult trying to come off because you're not ready and you know you're not ready. So I like for me, like I said, I had Oscars, although when I was pregnant with him, I was on antidepressants, and when he was born, he had some withdrawal from it, but he was fine from it. And although I was on my own with him and stuff, I think for me it was still that it wasn't me I was focusing on. Like I'd always wanted children, I'd never had them before. So it was sort of a bit of I knew he was then obviously he had me to rely on, but it was sort of like what I wanted. So it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't because I had a baby I had to do, I didn't have no choice, which I didn't anyway. But he was sort of like I said, he came at the right time. He was like the missing piece of the puzzle. And I don't know where I'd be today if I hadn't have had him and if I hadn't have had him then, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Sometimes we go through life and things are happening,
Yeah.
things that we do not have under control. Like you have mentioned, the painful situations that of your losses, beloved people. But there will be elements we are having in control. The dynamic vary in my understanding, and some our traumas will have an impact on the way how we make decision. And unfortunately, in quite many cases, we do the wrong decisions. Why do you think it's happening?
I think everything happens for a reason, good or bad. And although I didn't feel it at the time, I'm glad I've gone through it because, like I said, it's made me resilient and a stronger person. And like I said, we need something thrown at us to show that, like, to give us a lesson. So although it was one of the horrible things to go through. And one thing I would never wish upon anyone, and I do really anyone that's going through it. I know how hard it is because one day feels just like 1 week. So I definitely wouldn't wish it upon anyone. But I just yeah, it's like I said, I'm glad I've gone through it. Although it was negative, it's put me where I am today, if you know what I mean. It's a positive in a way because I've got boundaries, I've got strength, I've grown so much from it. It's just it would be nice that if there was a different way we could get this strength without going through all the negativity and going through something like that.
I love the positivity despite of this negative uh, occurrence in life. And many people actually need that courage because it's so important. We will go through difficulties in life, hopefully as little as possible or at all. And like you said, you don't wish anyone as well. It's absolutely the greatest wish to everyone, because especially women are going through the hardship. But it's important to understand, okay, it's difficult, but instead focusing on the negativity and dive into the dark cloud, see what kind of strength you can come out with from it, and how wonderfully you turned to be a woman who you are today. And what were your dreams? Because you have been in the dark side, on the dark side, and you moved wonderfully into your dreams. What were your dreams?
So at the time, like before that, I was always like to be a mum. So, that's will always be a dream because, he's always going to be in my life. And it's just for like, I don't know, like peace, happiness. So, like I've got like, whereas before I wasn't in great relationships, I found that now as well. So I've got like my family. And it's just like now I started the business as well because I don't want to like live my life. I want to live it on my terms. I want us to choose our life. I don't want us to be like, we need to book time off for a holiday. Can we afford a holiday? So I think I'm just starting to live my dreams now. I've started some of them, but I'm just starting to live them.
What does it mean to be a content woman for you?
Um, a free woman. Don't get me wrong, there's still we always have those inner battles with ourselves, and there's a lot which I said, I've got my body's gone through a lot of trauma, so I want to release a lot of that. So I think when I've gone through that, I'd probably be able to answer it better because I know I'm not there, if you know what I mean. I'm just
Mhm.
starting to understand and starting to let myself start healing. So if it, although it's not through depression and everything, normal life is busy. We're still on different stages. So though, ask me in a year's time
Okay, we'll keep that
when
in
I want to
notes.
go. Yeah,
And can you say that today you are a content person?
I'm a lot more content. Mainly from from giving up my job as well and just giving myself. I think for me, I'm content because my family believe in me that I can make this work and I believe in me. So I think I'm more content knowing that I can, being a single mum, I've never been able to do so much with Oscar. There's only been limited what we can do because of time, money. It's nice that I can actually now we can live that life which, when you're younger and you dream of having kids, you think, oh, we're going to give them this life. And although he hasn't gone without, there's lots of elements we haven't been able to do or plan or had to put on the back burner because we can't because of time or money. So I'm more content knowing that I can give that in the next few upcoming years. I can give some more and create more contentness at home because it can we'll have more time, more freedom, and more happiness with what all that brings as well.
As a single mom, women are also having a very critical momentum in their life, which is around financial status. How did you go through that process? How did you experience, the financial alignment with your life?
So I always worked. So when I was full time before I had Oscar, and then I went back part time when I had him, because if I'd have gone full time, then all the money would have gone on nursery fees, and then I wouldn't be able to have afford to live. So I had to go part time anyway because I wouldn't be able to afford it to live if I went full time, basically, because it all would have gone on nursery fees. So I always worked, and we never went without, but we never were able to do any, like I said, bigger things like holidays, other bits like that. So we never went without. And like before we started school, I was able to do like local, like the caravan holiday sites and stuff like that. And because obviously you could do them during term time as well. So they'd be something like £90 Monday to Friday instead of like £800 for a week in the half terms and that. So we're able to do lots of stuff like that. But obviously as they get older, they want more, although it's not always about materialistic, but obviously as they get older, there's more stuff they want and need, and there's still going to be amounts I say no to because I don't want him growing up being spoiled and knowing he can have anything at the drop of a hat. I want him to know he's got to work for it. I think going up now is sort of a bit more noticed. So it's just like I said, we could survive, but there was only enough for we had the basics and maybe like a little bit else, but nothing like I said, like a bigger holiday or bigger trips away or stuff like that, basically. But we've had a good life. So money isn't everything, if you know what I mean. It does give you opportunity, gives you freedom, but I think sometimes when you've got too much, it can draw you the wrong direction sometimes as well. But we survived. I wouldn't, and my family wouldn't have let us go without if we needed to anyway. But we are fortunate. I was good with money. Um, we coped okay. Like I said, we went without all the big stuff, but all the little stuff is what mattered because for like birthdays and Christmases and that, like I always do experiences.
Mm-hmm.
So when he was 5, we went to see Marvel, a live show, and this was just before COVID, mind. So we went to that was his birthday, that was his Christmas present because his birthday's November. So we went to see Marvel live in Birmingham, and then for his birthday, we went to the stadium to watch the rugby because we both love Wales rugby. And although he's coming at 10 now, he remembers that. He can't remember the toys and that he's had. So he remembers those experiences. So for me, it's always experiences over everything, and that's what he remembers. So
And
I
I
think
think
experience it means a lot more.
it's not about, throwing money around or expensive gifts, but the presence, the physical presence. And we say about, you need to spend a quality time, define quality. One
Yeah,
will say expensive holiday, another one, well, it will be just reading a book together, right? So I remember when my son was small and he was very, very active. And we were just going, to the bus station. Said, okay, Victor, pick up the bus. Which bus we go? And we were just going as far as he wanted. And we were talking, talking about trucks that were passing by, the houses. Like, oh, mom, there is a forest. Let's go off. Okay, let's walk around.
yeah,
And then we talk about the nature and then we come back. So the energy was very nicely, uh, distracted.
yeah,
But at the same time, you do these kind of things, and certain limitations of financial will create that value because you become more creative how to spend that time in a quality matter.
yeah. But it's like even now, if we go into Cardiff, although I drive, we'll just get on the train because it's less tiring than driving. It's more fun experience. You can sit there as you're going down the train. You can see these are the different parts, and it's more like of an adventure because we go everywhere in the car all the time. It's nice to not be in the car, and it's a different experience because you're sort of, you're concentrating in the car. When you're on the train, you're not concentrating. You can enjoy it
Yeah.
more.
It resonates with me, and I can't agree more because even if for years I don't drive, it was never really in my mind. The interest, I was living in a places where I didn't need, and even by locals, no need for a car. Yet for many years, we were having a driver, and I enjoyed that moment. Drop my son to school when he was a bit smaller, sitting at the back seat, and we were reading books and then having this completely different level of interaction with a child rather than, as you say, you are driving, you are focusing on the road rather
Yeah,
than on the conversation with the child, right?
yeah.
So I love these moments. Today, yeah, he's too big. He's not going for
Mm.
trips with mama.
But it's like when I picked a school, I wanted to go to a Welsh speaking school, but I picked one which was walking distance because when I was growing up, I used to walk to my school and I wanted to be able to do the same. So it'd be the same. He'd go when he first started school, he'd ride his balance bike to school every day. And we used to walk past because there's a castle in the town centre. So the walk would be past the castle, the moat, you got all the swans and the geese. So it was just a lovely out in nature experience, the walk as well. And it was nice walking into school and then being able to pick him up every day. And, that's what matters. And even now he'll say, oh, I miss because he has to get the bus now because we've moved. But even now he still remembers that, so again, it's all those experiences and that's what they remember, the time spent with you, not the money spent on them.
We are experiencing, especially recently, we need to find our why.
Hmm.
And if you want to be happy, answer your question, why? If you want to do one, two, three, ask yourself why. What in your understanding, what is the power of why?
So like in life, everything is got to be more than, sorry, my dog again. Everything has got to be more than making money. So, like I said, money only will drive us so far. You need that emotional connection to push us, and it doesn't always have to be about money. Just if to complete a challenge, we need that emotional reason of why we're doing it. So, like for example, people will climb, Kilimanjaro or whatever for charity. But, they're raising money, but they need that bigger reason for doing it. And it's the same in life. We need that bigger reason because money and other goals only get you so far. You need that other drive to make you achieve it, that connection to get you through it because you won't stay motivated. So you need those other reasons, like I said, beyond money, beyond everything else, you need those reasons to keep you driven and that'll motivate you to do it.
If we are just hanging as a carrot, the money as a goal, we are losing actually the pathway, how to
Yeah,
achieve the vision, right?
yeah,
And I think it's also really important to remember to trust the process
yes.
and to stay committed, which can be a very difficult. And even going through these kind of difficulties, you have achieved this great success of being a businesswoman. How did you achieve that?
Again, it's that drive. I didn't want to stay where I was. So like again, like it goes back to I was on my own for so many years. I was only on one wage, although we got two wages now. Cost of living is different. It just, if we ever wanted to go on a holiday, like we went away last year with my partner, his mum and dad paid. I'm very grateful they paid, but I'm also very embarrassed that as a 40-year-old woman, someone's had to pay for us to go on holiday. And it's just like if we wanted to go away, it would just take us years to be able to get to that goal. And like I was on minimum wage. I just wasn't fulfilled in my job. And I was just like, the only way we're going to have fulfillment or a new life is by not proceeding to the norm. I'd either have to go and pay to retrain and then try and do another job while still working and being a mum and then risk getting overwhelmed, or go into a 9 to 5 job, but then I'd have to pay for childcare because I used to work in a school. So I'd be able to do the school run and I'd be off half term. So that worked well. I could either then look at a 9 to 5, but then we'd have to pay for childcare before school, after school, half terms, and then that extra money would just go on childcare. So we'd be in the same place. Or I could look at another option, and lots of people are doing stuff online. So I decided just to look into that. And, I didn't have a clue what to do at the beginning. And, I'm still learning now. But I've thrown myself at it. I'd come home from work in between hobbies, and then I would literally just be learning about business, and in my gaps in the school run on the way to hobbies, it would literally just be focused on growing my audience, or doing videos in the car, just to I use my lack of time as a reason to do it, not an excuse.
I think it's the learning process. It never stops.
Yeah.
Do you remember the day when you decided that, okay, this is what I am going to do? This is this is what I want to achieve. Do you remember that day?
So it was last year, it was just coming to the summer holidays, and I was like, you know what? I'm not going back to school after next year. So I don't know how I was going to do it, but I was thinking I'm not going back. So I've literally just done my last school year and now I haven't gone back. So, I'm not making tons of money in my business. I want to be transparent about that. I am making money, but I've got money behind me for me to make it for it to work basically.
Mm-hmm.
So and now I've got the time to focus on it. I'm also doing an accreditation as well, which is going to help me with that continual learning for me and to help coaches I help as well. And then, yeah, when I've gone so far with that, then I'll be looking at learning the next thing and the next thing because I want to grow, but I obviously want to help others to grow as well. And that's why I did it for as well, because I thought there must be other people like me in this situation. So that's why I started it as well, without realizing when you get into business, it's all about helping each other grow. I automatically wanted to do it because I thought there must be a way of helping other people who are feeling like this out of the 9 to 5. Like we're trained to believe that you've got to go to school, go to uni, work till it'll probably be 70, our retirement age, and then you haven't enjoyed life because life is so fast paced and we're so burnt out. I want to show people you don't have to conform to that norm. I'm not doing it.
Yet many will have that feeling of risk, fear of taking the risk.
Yeah.
The norms are giving comfortable feeling, despite they are leaving us unhappy.
Hmm.
The feeling of unfulfillment, we prefer to stay in that rather than to go on the risky pathway.
Yeah.
You mentioned about accreditation. What kind of accreditation are you for?
So I'm doing a marketing launch and courses, creating courses, strategist accreditation. So I'll be accredited. It's equivalent of a level 6, so it's the equivalent of like a third year in uni. So
Mm.
it's a lot. It's a lot of work, but I'm loving it, and there's so much I've learned from it already. So from what I've learned, I've already decided to pivot my business, because I know the way I'm pivoting into is going to help me grow more, especially with this accreditation. So I'm going to help coaches to launch, but also my new niche is ICF and ACC coaches because I've done lots of calls with them. They all say we know to coach, but we don't know how to build a business. So
Okay.
obviously they've invested in themselves. So I want to show them how to market properly their business, and then how to create their offers, their courses, and then how to launch them basically.
It's incredible. And I think the market is very, very open for these kind of services. So
Yeah.
that's really wonderful.
Well, it's they've invested in themselves, so obviously they want it to work. But like I said, I've had so many calls, and they're like, we know how to coach, they don't know how to do the business side. So it's showing them how to do it properly so their business is successful, so they get their investment back and they can go on that path which they want to do, and they can help more and more people then as well.
Do you think that consistency towards our goals will be crucial?
Yes, so I've literally spent like the last year growing an audience, which I am now pivoting away from. So I'm literally going through the process of, like, I've got over 5,500 connections on LinkedIn, but they're now my wrong audience. So I'm literally going through the process of deleting everyone and creating my new audience. I'm still working on my ideal client because I'm still doing my new research for it, but it's going to be different. So I'm taking my time now because I know what I've got to do and I want to do it properly. So I'm taking my time now to do it, but I know it's going to pay off. So you have got to be consistent, and this is where that why comes into force. You got that bigger you if it was just about making money, you won't do it. You need that bigger end goal, bigger than money, to keep you motivated. So again, for me, it's like if it doesn't work, I've got to go back to a job. I've already noticed the difference in my energy, in my happiness, and I'm not willing to sacrifice that now to go back to a 9 to 5 just because I was having a bad day or I couldn't be bothered to try hard on my business. So, there's no way I'm going back to it. So, I'm doing everything I can, and I said that bigger why. I've got Oscar, I've got my partner. I want to be able to pay for a nice holiday from the money I've made in the business, and I just want us to have that time freedom, if you know what I mean. Which, like I said, money isn't a negative thing. It gives us lots of stuff, but it's that time it can give us as well, and that's what we're focused on.
Consistency in the business, that's clear. In the personal life, like, we are afraid to take the step of the risk. We need to remember, at least in my understanding, whatever decision we will take, despite we have people around ourselves, we will stay alone with that decision and its consequences.
Hmm.
And from my experience, risky decisions are definitely challenging you with a lot of hammers. You have to go through that. But the power of why, I think, will have also huge impact, not to give up. And from the personal perspective, how you grew up in it, your way of commitment towards your big goal was important. As a mother, today as a partner, as a woman that is going into the business role model, do you think on these few dimensions, the consistency is important to remember?
I think one of the biggest ones is like I'm doing it for me. Like I've always been like a shop assistant, or I was a social work assistant, I was a teaching assistant. I was never that I've always felt inadequate. I've never been the big thing. Like I don't want the big thing as in fame. I want the big thing as in I am creating my life not through an employer or someone else. I I I'm doing it for us and helping people along the way with it as well. So obviously everything helps. Those are my driving forces behind it. Like if I didn't have Oscar, my partner, we want to live in here. Because before we moved in, I was living with my auntie when I had Oscar. So again, everything was comfortable. But now, we moved out. I think that shifted a big change in me as well. Like I'm out now. I want more. I'm not ready to settle for less. And I want to make it happen.
I love what you have said. I'm doing for myself. I'm doing it for myself. So many women need that courage, and sometimes even literally to look in the mirror, why I'm doing that for
Yeah.
myself. Like we all, I think most of us are going through some phase in life to be a people pleaser, to mark our presence through the lens of being seen by others. So if I please you more, you will see me, and then it gives me validation for being.
Yeah.
And it's sad that we want to be seen through the lens of other people eyes. Doing for myself, it's really the huge label that we should all remember. Everything starts within us.
Yeah.
For so many years, because 8 years of being a single mom, it's quite a huge time.
Yes.
Today you are in a relationship, you are having a bigger family. How it was for you, the transition from being a single mom? Because I can see it, being alone with a child, it creates own dynamics, own routines, and then suddenly the third person is stepping in. How did you find yourself in that process of transition to share your space?
So before we moved in, we'd been together for like nearly 2 years anyway, so it wasn't like a quick.
Mm.
We'd been together 2 years, so it wasn't like a jump in and a big shock factor. But because like my partner leaves at 7 in the morning, you don't get home till 6 or 7 at night. I still do the majority of it, so there's still a lot which hasn't changed in that sense. So like
Mm-hmm.
I still got to do the school run, school pickup, all the hobbies, all bits like that. So it doesn't, a lot of things are different, but some things don't feel different because I still do it basically. So, but it's more just like I didn't date before because I used to find it hard. I used to feel like there was two different people. There's my son and then someone else, and I used to find it difficult to negotiate the two. So I didn't date for that reason because I just couldn't. And
Mm.
it's just like I'm very lucky, like we're a team, so we support each other with it. So like when he comes home, he'll do what he can for him, or he'll do the tea or other bits. But also the time he comes home as well anyway, like Oscar goes to bed like 8:30, so it's sort of he's in bed and then we have our time together, so it's not really much juggled time. And then if we go out on weekends or trips or whatever, obviously there's someone else helping with it. So I think because I still do majority of the stuff anyway, not that much has changed. The only barrier is me, in the sense of I I still struggle to ask for help. So it's I because I've had to do everything myself. I naturally do everything, and he'll say, "Let me do something. I'm here to also help. You don't have to do everything yourself." So I'm just lucky that I have a supportive partner who will say, "No, I'm here to help. You don't have to do it all yourself." Because one is a defensive mechanism on my part, is that fight or flight. I've still got it. So it's I've still got for me, there's still lots of stuff I need to let go on to say, right, because in my mind, like the fight or flight, I'm still very much, I don't let me down, so I'll do everything because I won't let myself down. So this is where I've still got lots of healing and trauma in me, which I'm aiming at fixing, basically.
It's you know so many years being in a relationship, and how deep this kind of mechanisms have grown in us, that we are having difficulties to share it, to go for compromises, to give away, for
Mhm.
the risk of, oh, the things will not be done as we wish. Do you also, how did you go through that? I mean, you said you are having barriers in you, and there is still a lot of areas where you need to let it go for the compromise. And it's amazing that you are aware of it, because so many of us are not. and we will still fight, because that's the thing where we think we have a control about. Why it
Yeah.
is, you think, difficult to give away the control?
I think going back to like when you have depression and bits like that, if you're having a good day and like you want to go out and then like people cancel, it's like you've got yourself all worked up, ready to go, excited, and then people cancel, and it's that it's just that like that flatness from it. And it's not just from that, just like life in general. So like, I used to do a lot of running and like you go and then you'd be excited to be running with people and then they'd pull out and then you would struggle to then to want to go. So I've just learned to through life, I just do it all myself because I don't let me down and I don't have to worry about that. Oh, I'm not going to now do it, lose my motivation, if you know what I mean. But like I said, I know that's still me in fight or flight mode. So I'm aware, and this is my journey going forward. I want to process on. There's lots of trauma in my body, and that's one of them. So I want to start processing, getting rid of that because I'm starting to feel a bit lighter, but I know I've got lots I need to work on as well.
I think when we are going through, uh, even with us being young, we are going through some events that are creating traumas. And then when we are experiencing motherhood, and even being a single mom will be more powerful in terms of covering with new layers those traumas, because we are having new focus in front of us. We are playing a different role right now, so anything else is no longer important. We are mothers now, and we need to gain these kind of different size of muscles, because we need to fight for our wonderful life for our kids. And then the moment comes that, like you said, the traumas are somewhere deep. They are not disappearing. We think, we want to believe that we went through them, we are all fine, but actually no, we only covered them with
Yeah.
layers of new experiences. And I remember you mentioned that on our off-screen discussion, uh, it will take, and you are ready for next few years to go through that healing process. Why so many years, you think, we need to go through the healing process? Why it is not just like that?
Because like trauma is embedded us in it, isn't it? So it's again, it's like an onion. You've got to peel back all the layers, and if I went through that 10 years ago, that's a lot of layers to go back to. So we have other experiences in life as well, and other traumas and bereavements and other stuff. So again, we just building because we're mums. We just building on it because you we when you're a mum, life carries on. You've got to get up in the mornings. Your routine stays the same. Your kids still got to go to school the next day. You see, everything is the same. So we just sort of build on it. I think when we become mums, we become more resilient as well anyway, because
Mm.
we've got that focus which we never had before. So it's like when I had Oscar, my nan died when he was 12 weeks old. And like I'd lost my grandfather before, but this was a different experience. Obviously, it was different because I still had lots of hormones. He was only 12 weeks old, but
Yeah.
that it helped me get through it more because I had this thing that was missing in my life, if you know what I mean. So when we experience trauma, it's different now when you've got kids because you've got a different area of life which you're fully focused on and invested emotionally in. So other things matter, but we deal with them differently.
And certain difficulties are diluted, just because we are mothers. And like you said, the focus is reconcentrated, and this resilience is also gaining completely different dimension, because we become resilient due to the child. And we are kind of much stronger strategic thinker, and picking up the things that are right now indeed crucial, not for me, but more important, what kind of impact it will be on the child. So this kind of protection, being a mom is protecting us sometimes from from other difficulties that we eventually can invite to our world, which is a beautiful side of being mom, actually. What would be the message that you would like to share?
You've got to do things for you. So you've got to be, one of the things I learned as well when I had CBT and stuff was like that is like the reason we don't do things for ourselves is because we don't think we're important. We're just as important as the person that we're helping out, if not more. So you've got to learn we all need self-love because life will be happier and fall into place when we love ourselves. And that's what happened with when I met my partner and stuff. Before it was always I didn't feel very and why in the past I've always put other people first is because we don't value or love ourselves. And when we learn to put ourselves first, which is what I did when I became a mum because I had to, everything else falls into place in life. So love yourself. If you don't love yourself, learn to love yourself before you do anything else because we come first. You are important. That person
I
in the
love it.
mirror, that matters. Even if you're a mum, that person matters the most because they've got to be there to be able to do everything else and to be the best version of you. You can be the best version for your family as well.
I love it. And I can't add anything more than just, love yourself. Before you start loving anything or anyone else, the first you need to do is love yourself. Because you need to remember you are unique. You are unique, you are not replaceable. You are you, and you are the most beautiful the way you are. So,
And you matter. You
absolutely,
matter,
you
and
matter.
that's the biggest thing. You matter, and you know, look in the mirror and tell yourself three things why you matter and why people, you know, and look for things from today as well to show that you matter. Like someone might have held the door open for you, or someone said thank you, or someone smiled at you. You know, you've got to look for it as well. If you can't see it, when you look for it, you will see it. And then you start writing down these reasons of why you matter, and then you'll start seeing it more and more around you.
If you are feeling right now completely lonely, completely lost, wherever you are in your life, start defining love towards yourself, and it should be 100%. It doesn't matter how we are seeing the criteria to define the beauty, wisdom in us, or the material surroundings that we are having. Poor or rich, you are beautiful and you deserve to be happy. Kelly, thank you very much for being with me today and sharing your wonderful and insightful wisdom. I wish you all the best. I wish you the success with your dreams and the strength that you are having, which is absolutely empowering, really, really empowering. And I hope that you are extremely proud of yourself. You must be.
Again, I'm starting to allow that in, which is again is another part of what needs to come with healing. Like I said, and the one good thing about doing this book is coming on this and realizing this. So again, if I hadn't done it, I would not be realizing, right, let's start healing. Let's give my body that release and let's let it all go.
With Kelly, we are co-authors of book Courage, available on Amazon. It was under collaboration and led by Sarah Makinda, #1 bestseller on Amazon. So definitely get your copy because there are wonderful 25 various stories. And as we wrote the little piece within that book, you are an author of your own book. So grab your paper and make the page fulfilled with your dreams, with your hopes, with your strength. to be happy in your life. Thank you.